Today we are going to install the more unconventional sop44 patch Unibios 4.0 into our Neo Geo MVS MV1C. Oh yeah. The conventional way to do this is with a NeoBiosMasta. I don't want to do that. I want a more hardwired approach. So first thing I'm going to do is test my MVS since it sat on my shelf for the past year. Everything's good there, so let's get this consolized unit out of the case. To give us some breathing room, we're going to pull this fuse out and bend these tabs downward. The fuse holding tabs. Bend them out of your way. Oh yeah. Next, I'm going to apply a liberal amount of flux paste, and we're just going to drag freshly tinned tip of solder on all these legs of this IC. We just want fresh solder on there, unoxidized freshness to aid in removal. Here I've made a dam with aluminum tape, and we're going to apply heat with the heat gun. Set at, I believe, 375C. This took about 45 seconds of moving that nozzle all around until that solder got hot enough to remove that BIOS chip. You'll know you're hot enough when your tape starts to smoke. That don't smell good. Here we are, stock BIOS chip removed. Go ahead and get this nasty tape off of here. Now, while that sop40 socket is saturated in flux, we're gonna go ahead and take some copper braid and clean up all that old solder off them pads. Once we're happy with that, we'll just clean up the area with some isopropyl alcohol. Here's a little look-see. You'll want to start with a clean slate. Oh yeah. Here is our new Unibios 4.0 flashed on a sop44 chip. See the indicator dimple? We want that at the bottom left. It's gonna go towards the 1 pin on the board. So make sure you get that indicator right. We're gonna have 2 extra pins hanging over. The extra 2 will hang off to the left. Pins 1 and 2 we're gonna remove, and directly above it, pins 43 and 44, we're gonna push together, solder them together, and they're gonna solder to the top of this PC1 capacitor. Now notice the old BIOS on the left is not as wide, along with not having as many pins. So to get these legs to fit on the pads, we're gonna have to bend them downward in a way that's gonna lift the new BIOS chip off the board a millimeter or 2 to give room for that capacitor PC1 to sit underneath it, and also to bring the legs close enough to where we can solder them onto the board. So use a flat surface and just hinge the whole IC backwards to bend those legs under the chip. You want them to kind of look like this. Here you can see pins 1 and 2 right by the indicator dimple were removed. And on the other side, notice I pushed pin 43 towards 44 at the edge. And then I put a small little blob of solder. So get them pre-soldered. We want to also get that top pad of that PC1 ready by putting some fresh solder on it. Oh yeah. You might have to play around with it, but you want all of those legs to line up and fit on the pads with room to solder them all in. Once you're happy, I went ahead and started by tacking in pins 43 and 44 to that capacitor. Again, make damn sure you're lined up before you solder this in, before you tack this in. Make sure it's perfect. Once you have that top left corner tacked into that capacitor, we can move down here to the bottom right and get that corner tacked in. Again, being very careful of your alignment. And from there, we're just going to generously flood all these legs with flux. And then we're going to apply fresh 60-40 solder to the tip and just drag it along and let that flux do the work. It'll keep the solder on the pads and on the legs, and we'll just get some touchdown freshness on this bad boy. Oh yeah. Same thing with the other side. Drag it along. Don't worry if your tip gets stuck, just rock it a little bit, it'll break free. Easy peasy, you can do this. Oh yeah. I would do multiple passes with fresh flux and a freshly tinned tip just to make sure you got all those legs nicely connected to the board. If you bridge 2 pins, swipe away. Add more flux, swipe away. You'll get it clear. Now we're just going to clean up our big flux mess. And here's hopefully what it looks like when you're done. Remember, you want those 4 extra legs floating off to the left of that socket. 43 and 44 have a nice goober of solder right there connecting to that capacitor PC1. Here's a better look. Only thing left is to flaunt that shit with our Unibios billboard right on that damn chip. Again, nothing wrong with NeoBiosMasta. I just don't trust it, especially the clones, because you can't get a real one anymore. This is hard connected and will always have secure communication with the board. Now we're just gonna pry those fuse holder tabs back straight, pop our fuse in. This is the perfect time to clean that JAMA connector and this King of Fighters 2000 that was giving me problems. I also cleaned that filthy little slot. Now we can go ahead and get this case snapped back together, screw it and do it, and test her out. So I decided to omit the black piece of acrylic underneath this top plate. I kind of like it see-through like that. Now we can see our Unibios sticker. That's gigapower. Applesauce, fingers crossed, here we go. Oh yeah. Shout out to this guy right here. I'd pronounce your name, but I don't know how. Without his write-up, I would have had not known how to approach this install with those 4 extra pins. Oh yeah. Here we can see some of those Unibios options. I need to brush up on all the dip settings, soft dip settings, all this stuff. All these various Unibios options. I haven't really looked into it too much. I just know you can set the region that you're in. You can set it from the MVS to the AES, so to mimic a console. So it will unlock any console options that game had over the arcade version. You got all these cheats. Another very important feature that the Unibios 4 brings is if you have a 161 in one multi-cart, you can bring up the fast menu and pick and jump to a different game without having to swim through all the dozens of clone games that are in the regular menu. Yeah, I'll definitely have to look into this some more. But there it is, the mod's working fantastically, and hopefully this install vid will help somebody. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.